Welcome, Robin. Robin is from
Thanks.
HighTechXL, yet another Deep Tech Alliance member. Great company. So I suggest you share your screen and we just take it from there. Yes, perfect.
Gotcha.
Take it away.
Yep. Hey, thanks everyone for being here, listening to our stories on deep tech venture building. I'm sure that David already touched upon what is deep tech and what is a venture builder. So I've decided to skip over that for this presentation. If you have any questions, then I think myself or David are well equipped to answer them. So today I'll just skip that for the time being. And I'd like to share a few things on HighTechXL. So we're in the same space as Deep Tech Labs. So working on getting deep tech ventures, deep tech innovations out of institutions, universities, sometimes corporates, and turn them into impact-driven, successful ventures. But that's not how we started, actually. So we started back in 2013. We were at the time a high-tech accelerator. So scouting high-tech companies all across Europe, bringing them to the Netherlands, doing a short program and trying to get them to market quicker. However, that didn't really work. So after we onboarded Philips, ASML, BOM, it's a regional development agency, the High Tech Campus in Eindhoven, and TNO, which is the Dutch Institute for Scientific Research, we wanted to change the model. And that's what we did in 2018. That's when we became a deep tech venture builder. And since then, together with our 5 new shareholders, we have built 93 and counting ventures, considering ourselves one of the leading venture builders in deep tech. Of course, of those 93, definitely not all are still alive. And also for the ones that are still alive, they aren't always kicking. But roughly a quarter to a third of our portfolio is still alive. Now, the way that we work is we start with scouting top technologies from said research institutions, universities, and corporates. Next to that, and Jane, I can hear you're typing away. I hope you're taking notes. Yep, no worries. So that's where we start, top technologies from research institutions, from universities, and sometimes corporates. That's the first activity. The second activity is scouting top talent. And top talent can mean people with a lot of experience and more junior people, and anything in between. It can be people that have built and sold businesses before. It can be people that are bored of their corporate jobs. It can be people that decided to join the Zoom call around 4 o'clock on a Wednesday afternoon and want to do something else than what they're currently doing. But it can also be PhD students that have been working on a certain topic and want to make more out of that than just research. So step 1 is talent, tech, and step 2 is talent. Now, once we have matched those, so we've matched individuals to each other, and we've matched individuals to a technology, forming a new founding team, we, together with them, look at where is that first customer, where could be the launching application, where is this problem the biggest, the most urgent, and when should it be solved? And that's the third ingredient. And that's when we start the third activity. That's our program. In 1 year, cut up into 3 phases, we get the teams, the newly formed startup, to being investor ready. Now, the first phase is all about market validation. So we kick them out of the building. We make sure that they talk to clients, potential partners, potential customers. It's really about validating the problem. So about the what is it that we should be solving? What should the solution look like? The second phase of 3 months is all about the how. So if we know what we should build for what problem, how can we actually do that? What do we need in supply chain? What do we need on product side, technology side, those type of things. And if we have that, then we take roughly half a year to fill up the data room, to really get them investor ready. And investor ready in our playing field in deep tech, usually at the end of the 12 months, it's a pre-seed and sometimes a seed investment. But I think on average, it rounds between half to 1.5 million euros. That's sort of when we pick them out of the program and they leave the nest. And that's when our fourth activity starts. So our business model is in the equity that we take in the startups that we build. And of course, you have to manage that equity. And all of that is supported by the fifth activity, which is basically getting into touch with our ecosystem, finding new partners for the technology, finding potential clients for the startup, finding potential investors. And that fifth activity, that's the one that I am busy with. As I didn't introduce myself in the beginning, my name is Robin, and I'm responsible for anything partnerships at HighTechXL. which is why this slide turns into this slide. So I'm quite happy with all of that. I know it's just a bunch of logos on the slide, and we always tell people not to do that. But this is where I'm quite proud of. So together with people around us, we build the startups. We have people with very specific expertise that we can just call, pick up the phone, and they usually answer, and then they help our startups. Within the program, we drive their progress on 8 KPI areas. So it's anywhere from business model to finance, communication, its team, its product, its tech, and anything in between. And we track that over the period of time. Now, as you might guess, the one on the top right, that's a company that's doing relatively quite well. And the one on the bottom right is not doing so well. So if they don't do so well, that means that at the end of each phase, we have the option to kick them out. And that's also what happens. So roughly a third of the companies that we start makes it to the end of the 12 months. So that's actually quite high success rate, I think. And only then is when the real world starts, let's say. Now for each KPI area, we have different deliverables, different workshops. That is all standardized content. But in the end, the added value that we bring is by really sitting next to them around the table to make sure that they hit the goals that they should hit at the end of the program. Now, of course, having a standardized program helps, but experience teaches us that every venture, especially in deep tech, takes its own path. So sometimes it takes a bit longer to get the data room ready, and in some cases we can do the whole program in 9 months even. Now, at the end of that program, of course, it's not really a success just yet from a startup point of view. So this is basically how we see things. So the ones in blue, that's where we focus on in the program. So leading all the way up to customer and product validation and product development, getting them really into a pilot, into doing something with a potential customer, which will trigger the investor to trigger a seed or pre-seed investment. But after that, there's still a long way to go on the ladder of startup success. Now, this is all quite theoretical, but there are things that are actually coming out of the program. So I've listed a couple of ventures that we're quite proud of to say that we've built. The first being Carbion. So in 2019, we scouted the CO2 capture technology from TNO. And together with the inventor of the technology, we built a new team around him to take this tech out of the lab in TNO and into the market. Basically, they are a competitor of Climeworks, if you will. A bit behind in funding still, but nevertheless, their solution is looking very promising. So taking ambient air and capturing CO2 out of that. Another technology also originated from TNO is the technology that formed the basis of Chiron. So it's a lift printing technology, laser-induced forward transfer printing. So basically what they do is print solder paste on top of PCBs. And that means that you can differ in height, and also there's less waste. So normally there's a mask and you sort of put the soldering paste on and then you swipe it off again, but that means everything is at the same level, same depth. And with this technology, we can do it differently. Infocal is a technology coming from CERN in Geneva, the particle collider. And they are the first in the world to be able to produce a laser printer that can follow the speed of a production line. So for example, if you look at the bottom of a can of Coke or a can of beer, if that's already good enough on the Wednesday afternoon, then you can actually see that there's an expiration date printed on the bottom. And that's still printed with ink because current laser printers cannot keep up with that production line speed. And they actually can. So they're working with the biggest beer brewers and also some other bottling companies like Coca-Cola and PepsiCo. Those type of clients would be their ideal target customers. Another look in the batch, we have a technology from Philips, alpha beat, that can monitor your brain waves. And by turning alpha into beta waves can get you into a focus mode or a more relaxed mode from a stressed position. Fifth company being Veridis. That's a company that actually already existed just before the program, freshly out of university, a couple of guys. And they make a material analysis for plastics. So if you look at the plastics that for example, surround your TV, that's a very high quality plastic, but if you now hand in your TV at your local yard, then the maximum it will be ever is a power bank, which is very low plastic, or maybe some garden furniture. And that is because currently we do not know what comes in a plastic recycling process. And with this technology, they basically make a material fingerprint on a batch level of the different type of plastic that's in the batch. And with that, you can upcycle or even just on the same value level recycle. And that's currently also very, very difficult. And the last one is Scheijndel. It's a photonics company. They run a photonic fiber on the outside of pipes in the process industry and in oil and gas. And they can monitor corrosion without having to open up the pipe. So currently there's a pipe, something is flowing through it, there's insulation around it, and then like a metal jacket, if you will. And every time that they think something might have gone wrong, or they do that periodically inspection, they have to open up the pipe. And that's by itself not necessarily an issue. But if you look at a chemical site, for example, and the amount of kilometers of pipe that is there, you can imagine it's quite a hassle and a very expensive human labor. So they can run a fiber on the outside, run it once, and then actually measure, monitor, and predict the forming of corrosion. So that's just a grasp in our portfolios. As you see, quite broad, both in the sense of technology as well as in the sense of application or industry. That is our current way of working. We are also thinking about doing more industry-focused or technology-focused programs. But so far it has been relatively broad in each and every cohort, which comes with pros and cons, of course. So we are very proud of this. Luckily, we are not the only ones saying that we're on the right track. So this is an article that was published by Perception Box, an Israeli company that monitors the startup landscape. So we're in the top 5 together with some of the biggest names, and they would say that if they would have focused on high tech or deep tech and on venture building, we would have been even higher up the list, which is great. So quite nice to see that recognition. Now the one thing that was missing till some time ago is funding. I'm a firm believer that the whole venture building exercise is not a full proposition toward founders or toward technology providers if you cannot provide the funding as well. And that's something that we realized early on, but didn't materialize yet. But 3 years ago, we started a large investment fund that's called HighTechXL. What's in the name? Currently 110 million actually in the fund, and they invest both in our ventures as well as other Dutch deep tech startups. So I believe they have made 9 investments so far, 4 of them in companies from our portfolio, amongst others, Chiron and Infocal, ones I just showed, as well as Alphabet actually, and also Scheijndel. So those are the 4. And 5 other ventures from the Dutch deep tech ecosystem. They mainly focus on seed, but can also, I think, still lead a Series A round and follow in a B round. Now, this still leaves a little bit of a gap in the pre-seed phase, but that is something that we're working on, and hopefully before summer, if we ever meet again, I can share some happy news about a smaller pre-seed fund also under our umbrella. So that's how we work. And now I think usually this will be the time where we would say, okay, come on with your questions. But before we do that, I also have a question for you. We cannot build this alone. We cannot build our startups alone. So if any of these 3 things resonate with you, I'd be very happy to discuss further. So on the one hand, we have access to really, really cool technologies, cutting edge deep tech IP, which could be solved, for example, to solve one of the problems that you are facing as a company right now. Or maybe you have something lying on the shelf in your own organization and say, hey, this could be turned into a venture. Or we are already applying this technology in a certain field, but we can do that maybe also in other fields that's outside of our own scope. That is something that we could do. We also provide access to a vetted pool of entrepreneurial talent. So we're very strict on the people that we select. So if you do have a technology, we will find the best people to turn this into a startup. Or maybe you already have internal ventures or internal people that are working on something. Our program could be a base for them to take off from in the way that they work. So that's basically my offer to you, or my question to you. If any of this resonates, then let's have a separate discussion. But for now, I think I would like to leave the floor for questions or comments from your side. If you want to find me, this is the email address, this is the name. You can reach me on LinkedIn or simply send an email. So the email is easy, robin@hightechxl.com, if you want to reach out. And if this was too fast, then just send me or Magnus a message afterwards. Thanks.